is Optifine even worth it anymore? Okay, if you don't know, most people install what's called Sodium now. Now, the installation process of Sodium isn't that different from Optifine, but people have opted to choose it because apparently Optifine is now just ass, and that's like the argument that people make. So I'm going to boot up Minecraft in vanilla, Optifine, Sodium, and then using Iris plus Sodium, which, if you don't know, Iris plus Sodium is basically a replacement for Optifine. Let's see how that goes. Now, it should be stated that booted up very quickly. Okay, we're gonna create a new world. We're gonna keep everything just default. We're just gonna go in. Now we're gonna be on 20 render distance with 12 simulation distance, and then everything else like smooth lighting needs to be on, just so we have a consistent thing. My computer has a 7900X CPU and a 4070. I have a beefy computer. So with that being said, you know, as I run around here, if you look at the top left-hand corner of my FPS, as I load new chunks, which is mostly what causes Minecraft to lag or, you know, to do that sort of thing, it's still pretty decent. But there are these little like low frame rate things which do impact the gameplay a little bit. Now, this isn't the best test because I'm just running around both with the F3 menu and in a not so difficult terrain generative area. Not to mention, it's not like I have a big base or anything. If there was a ton of entities, you know, if I was doing like a mob farm, there would be even more frame drops. But ultimately, it seems to be hovering around 300 to 800. Okay, that's a 20 render distance, completely vanilla Minecraft gameplay on 1.20.6. It's not bad. Given I have a beefy ass computer, it's still not bad. Let's go ahead and install Optifine and we'll see where that takes us. Now, the installation process of Optifine requires you to go to your browser, shocking, typing in Optifine and then clicking optifine.net. Now it'll take you to this unbelievably sketchy looking website. This thing is dated as hell, but you go to the downloads tab and you can see Optifine doesn't even have 1.20.5, let alone 1.20.6. If you click preview versions, you can see that's the latest that they have. When you click show all versions, you can see they didn't even do some of them, which is just kind of disappointing. But we'll still test it. Just keep in mind that they still haven't even done Have a Minecraft. Now, I hate this. I have an ad blocker for most pop-ups. I have some YouTube channels not restricted to ads so that they can actually make money, but for regular web browsing, there would normally be an ad here. On top of that, always rent a Minecraft server up here. You have to click skip in order to get your download. Sketchy looking website with sketchy fucking ads. Now, the installation process requires you to download this and then double click it. This will pop up this installation. There is no 1.20.6, which is kind of disappointing. 1.20.5 did add new things, so this is going to be behind a little bit, but that's okay. You click install and you'll notice I don't have it installed. I don't have 1.20.4. So if you don't have the installation installed, you have to go back to Minecraft and you have to specifically go to installations, new installation, find 1.20.4, or you can just look it up. Pull it up here, click create, and then you have to launch that version of Minecraft in order to get Optifine to install. Keep in mind how long that took me to load it up and everything, but this is 1.20.4. We can go ahead and close it, click the installation, and it says Optifine is successfully installed. So you can close out of this. You can probably delete the file. You don't really need it. Relaunch Minecraft with the little armadillo. Look at him go. And you notice in your installations an Optifine tab. So go ahead and boot that up. Now you'll notice when you go to the option menu or video settings or anything like that, you do have a few more things. But you do have like shaders and you do have details, which you can change the cloud height. Like, it does give you a ton of customability. You have more options here. Like, you know, you can change the time for yourself. You can, you know, it's good for modding things or looking for specific errors. You have an autosave that you can actually control. I don't know if that was in base Minecraft, but the point is, we're gonna go back here because what we're mostly testing today is performance. Now, there's a ton more issues with Optifine that I don't want to get into, but I would say it's definitely staying in the 700 range a lot more consistently than it was when I didn't have Optifine. So I would say that this is more stable, and you may notice that like the smoothing between biomes looks a lot better. We have a zoom mod, which can be very nice. And again, we have dynamic lighting, which basically means that if you give yourself, say, a torch and walk into an area that would otherwise be dark, you notice that the torch actually emits lighting, which is extremely nice. It's honestly one of the things that Minecraft really needs. And this doesn't just apply to torches, this applies to glow squid, this applies to quite literally anything that is meant to emit light will actually emit light for just any purposes, which completely changes how Minecraft looks and feels. It's a game changer. And zooming is another thing that I really love. Zooming is something that a lot of people really love because it just adds flavor. You can actually zoom in on things and it's nice. It's something that needs to be added. Yeah, I would say the FPS is definitely more stable. I'm not getting the lag spikes as frequently as I load new chunks. You'll see I don't dip down nearly as far below. You get dynamic lights, you get shader control, you get more options in how you want your Minecraft to feel or look and or perform. And just right out the gate, it runs pretty alright. It doesn't run much better, but it does run better. And that's what you're looking. Not to mention you also get your little Optifine cape if you really care about that sort of thing. You do have to pay for it, but hey, you get it. It's just more perks, more benefits. It's nice. And if I hold still, you can see it. It really bounces up. Now, even with all those benefits coming in one package, it is still a shame that it takes so long for it to come to modern versions of Minecraft. 1.20.6 and sequentially 1.20.5 have been out for, close to a couple of weeks, and they still haven't even finished 1.20.4. So it's definitely a little lackluster in the getting it up to date, but that's just due to how complex and spaghettified that this has become. It's hard to port it over so quickly, whereas things like Sodium, which we will talk about and look at soon, are made for more modern versions of Minecraft and using OpenGL or whatever it was, and that allows them to update significantly quicker, like hours after the update comes out. It's there, it's done, it's ready. So it's definitely a drawback. But what we will do today is we will turn on shaders, which go here, and this allows you to completely change the look of Minecraft, and voila, Minecraft is now a completely different video game. And you can see it's a massive hit to performance, but of course it is. It's shaders. That's kind of like their whole gimmick. Now this is one of the more potent shaders, as in it really kicks your FPS in the ass. So, I'm not that worried with how much performance I'm getting, but truth be told, this is still a solid amount of performance. Well over 100 FPS, not well over 100 FPS, around 100 FPS, with one of the strongest shaders, and I'm at 20 chunks. It's not a terrible experience, to be quite honest. And Optifine does allow shader options, which here you can change how you want the shaders to look, how strong they are, what is applied, what isn't applied, as long as the shaders support it. Now, one thing about Optifine specifically, and I'm keeping the F3 menu open just to show the FPS in the top left-hand corner, but one thing about Optifine is that although all of this comes packaged and it works pretty much right out the box, there are still some side effects. I've already mentioned how long it takes to actually get, ported over to newer versions of Minecraft. That's a big one. But the second big one I would say is that it's not really moddable. So if you wanted to add things on to Optifine, it's significantly harder since it's not really compatible with like Fabric, for instance. You need a whole separate thing called OptiFabric just to get Optifine to work with Fabric, which is definitely quite a big drawback, and it doesn't really work compatibly with a lot of mods. So with that being said, there's not much you can do once you have Optifine. It coming with all of these built-in features is almost a requirement, otherwise Optifine just honestly doesn't work with most things. You can't add more onto it, and that's part of the reason that people have started changing their minds on it. Now another thing is, when changing to a different shader, you'll notice I click on a new shader and it just kind of loads. There's no screen for it, but it does take just a minute, which is fine. It doesn't need to be instant or anything, but you'll see once I use a different thing called Iris, which we'll get to at some point, that is kind of a commodity that isn't really fun, because if you click while it's loading, your game's probably gonna crash. That happens more often than you might think. Now, if you want to turn off shaders, you just have to go back to options, video settings, shaders, and then turn them off. You might get a little loading screen from time to time for that. So that is Optifine. It comes with a whole lot of things, and it's actually kind of nice to just immediately click on a file. This all loads in, and you get all of the perks that I've mentioned, which is kind of a lot. And it's not even to mention that its support for resource packs is also kind of unmatched. And as far as resource packs go, it allows for a lot more in Optifine. Now, I don't know the exact specifics of it. I've never looked it up, but all I know is that Optifine allows resource packs to utilize things that otherwise you couldn't do with resource packs, because it changes how Minecraft runs. It also changes the Minecraft generation a little bit depending on what you do. There's a lot of weird things that you can turn on in the settings that really fuck up with the whole game. Again, there's too much to go through here. Overall, I would say just playing Minecraft, the Optifine experience is kind of nice. It's a one-click, kind of one-fix solution, and it works. It works for a lot of the things that you might want or might be looking for in a Minecraft. Essentially mod pack, I would put it as, but ultimately it's like a shader and resource just compiler. So let's move on to Sodium. Now, Sodium, much like Optifine, you just kind of look it up, Sodium, and you'll notice it doesn't just pop up here. You may actually have to look up specifically Sodium Minecraft, which you can see it's here on CurseForward and Modrinth. It doesn't really matter which one you go to, so we'll go to both just to show. This is what it looks like on Modrinth. I don't particularly love this UI, but you can just see the very first one, 1.20.5, click on that, and then downloads right there. For Forge, it's a little bit different. You can click this top right here, which will pop up this, and you can see 1.20.5, you know, all game versions. If you want to look for specifically that, you can. If you want to look for just Fabric or something, or just Quilt. Now, Sodium is a Fabric mod, but it's not a Forge mod, so keep that in mind. Might work on Forge. I've never actually tried, I've never looked at it, but as far as I'm aware, it doesn't work. So we're just gonna do either one. But one thing I want to point out is you'll notice 1.20.5 here, and then on Modrinth it's 1.20.5 to 1.20.6. I don't know what that's about. I don't know why it's not here on Sodium, but it is here over on Modrinth. Honestly, I would use Modrinth just because CurseForge tends to have more shady practices. Once you have Sodium downloaded, you may notice that when double clicking on it, you'll get this prompt. You have tried to launch Sodium, a Minecraft mod, directly, but it is not an executable program or mod installer. Instead, you must install Fabric Loader from Minecraft and then place the file in your mods directory. If this is your first time installing mods with Fabric Loader, then click help for the installation guide. You'll click help and boom, you get hit with this. Now this will tell you to use the Modrinth launcher, which isn't a terrible thing, but it's whatever. But I want to point out this. If you're looking for an Optifine-like experience, we recommend using Additive Modpack. I really like that this is something that they offer. Additive Modpack, what does it do? It tries to match what Optifine has: dynamic lighting, better grass and snow, the Optifine donor cape, the resource pack features, all of the things that I talked about. Optifine has, Sodium does not. Sodium does not provide that. So this is something we will look at towards the end. Right now, see how we install this. Okay, you can use this Fabric Loader, and it tells you to do that this way using the Fabric Wiki. Take you to the Fabric website, click the download. So use the Fabric installer, which you have to do here. You want Minecraft 1.20.6, the latest version works, and just click install. Once it has been successfully installed, you can go ahead and close it. You can go ahead and remove your Fabric Loader, but you'll notice, oh no, Sodium still isn't in there, is it? And if you try to go back to Minecraft, you'll notice that you do have Fabric Loader 1.20.6. If you boot this up, it will boot up vanilla Minecraft just with the Fabric. You actually have to put your mods in a mod folder. Now, in order to do that, you have to find Minecraft's directory, which usually requires you to press Windows plus R, which will pull up this run command. You now need to type in %appdata%, click OK. This will open another folder, which you have to go to Minecraft, and you scroll down until you find mods. If you don't have mods, you have to make that folder. double click mods, and that's where this goes. Significantly longer of a process to get Sodium installed. Just in general, it's definitely more annoying, you know, and it requires a lot more. Now, if you know what you're doing, you can immediately go to the website, install Sodium, press Windows R, and just get through. You can do it pretty quick. But as a first-time modding experience, I would say this is definitely a massive step up from just double-clicking an executable like Optifine. With all that being said, let's finally load up Fabric and see how Sodium operates. Now, that didn't take as short of a time, but it also didn't take as much longer, so that's fine. So, going into options, you'll notice it's pretty defaulty until you actually click video setting. This completely changes Minecraft's UI. Now, a lot of people may not like that. A lot of people may like that. I personally quite like it. It makes it much simpler as like smooth lighting on or off, entity shadows on or off, the vignette on and off, like things like that. And you can change the bioblem here, and you know, you have all these options. They're just kind of here, and you can look at this, and you'll see a bunch of this stuff. Now, I don't know what was on or what wasn't on since I've used this before. I really hope this is default. But you'll notice you don't have nearly as many options as you did with Optifine. It's a very vanilla-like experience in that sense, whereas Optifine was definitely not. You'll notice you don't have a shaders pack. You don't have dynamic lighting. You don't have any of that. It's strictly a performance mod. So, after doing all of those steps and after looking at everything, is it really worth the performance gains? Notice chunks seem to load quicker, but this world has already been booted. And the FPS, what a surprise. It's not that much better. This is kind of a weird one. If we give it a minute, you'll notice it'll end up kicking up pretty quickly. I see we hit 1,000 FPS there when still running and creating a new terrain. But ultimately, it's around the same performance as Optifine. If anything, it's a little more stable. I'm sitting in the 600, 700 range. I haven't seen it dip below 500, which Optifine and Vanilla both did. So ultimately, it feels much smoother, but not that much smoother, you know? It's smoother in the sense that there's less frame dips, but it's not smoother in the sense of it's actually giving me more performance. It's giving me roughly what Optifine was, if not maybe a teeny tiny bit higher. Now, I will mention just off the bat that Sodium typically works better for lower end PCs. When I used to play games on my laptop before I had this beefy ass computer, Sodium generally ran significantly better than Optifine ever would. Now, whether that's, the case for everyone is something you're gonna have to test. As far as I've found, Sodium's better. You can see it changed it a little bit, but honestly not by much. Overall, around 600 to 700, and I would say generally more stable while being about the same performance level as Optifine once was. Now, this isn't like I said, this may not be the case for you, but that's the case here. But as far as a performance mod, and as far as it goes with like helping lower end Minecraft things, Minecraft computers, as well as it being updated to the most modern versions of Minecraft very quickly, I mean literally like day one type thing, it's very nice. So is it worth the hassle? That's kind of debatable, but the fact that it's playing on the most modern version with performance like this, and it just kind of works that way, is great. And it doesn't come with any of the extra junk that you may not want with Optifine. That's another thing that you may just have to deal with, is if you don't want something in Optifine, you have to turn it off. So there's some arguments here and there, but ultimately I would say just as a one download and insert into your folder, technically 2 download, and getting all this garbage, it's alright. As far as performance goes, especially on higher end things, it's about the same. it just doesn't come with any of the extra stuff. So is that really worth it? I don't know. But that's why I am going to also do a few other things. When you go to download Sodium, as I mentioned, it brings up that guide and does all the other things, and it does offer this, which is something that attempts to mimic Optifine using Sodium built into it, as well as other mods. It's a mod pack. Now, mod packs are a little bit different. When you install them, you'll notice it's called, well, MPack. Trying to open it, you'll notice nothing pops up. If you try to open it in Notepad, you get the coding. So what do you do with this file? Well, this is where the Mothrin loader comes in. You're gonna want a launcher. Now, if you're curious what this pack actually holds, it's a lot of things. You can look at this here. It's a lot of things. And that may not be your thing. Okay, you may not want all of these mods, but ultimately what this is trying to do is mimic Optifine. So it's trying to give you the closest experience you can get to Optifine. So for installing it, as I said, you can't just drag it in. You'll notice that doesn't work. You do have to go to a different website, and you'll have to install more junk. Now you'll notice it's gonna tell you, hey, you can boot it up using the Mothrin app. Once more, I don't like this process. I don't think you should install this much or have to install this much, but it is what it is. After installing the Mothrin launcher, it's going to pop up this little window. Now it's going to ask you to sign in, which is something I'm all for, okay? I don't necessarily want to do that. But you'll notice additive here. If you click install, it's going to install it through mods. All this is going to allow you to do is boot it up quickly and efficiently. After signing in and getting everything else set up, all you have to do is click play and it'll boot up the game. Now this may take a minute due to how many mods there are, but it will boot it up. Now you may notice immediately my options have been reset. I don't like that. In my opinion, I think this is not something you can just run into and it'll just work using your previous settings and everything. You have to sit here and spend time resetting absolutely everything that you need. I hate it. I will complain about it because I think that's ludicrous. With that being said, after making all the choices and shit that you want to make, first off, we're not trying to go back to our controlled environment, okay? Now, I'm not going to touch any of the rendering things because I do want to see if better out of the box compared to both Iris plus Sodium or Sodium in general and or anything else like that. But you'll notice I don't even have my world. It acts as like its own Minecraft instance. As much as I'm fine with that, fine with the concept, just trying to boot it up out of the box is needlessly complicated. As we can see at the top left hand corner, performance wide, this is the biggest bump, and it has zoom and all these other things, a more dynamic zoom that allows you to actually move it and whatnot, which is definitely interesting. But yeah, as far as performance goes, way higher than anything else combined. I mean, this is kind of crazy by Minecraft standards. And it's not just that. Again, it mimics other things. It's trying to mimic, well, Optifine. Now, I don't know why the cape isn't working. That may be out of date and or just not, I may just not be able to find the fucking options because this is kind of, not the best work I've ever seen. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. Would you look at that? I found my Optifine cape, and you may notice it kind of just works like that. So honestly, it feels like I'm playing Optifine just with a massive performance upgrade, because that's what Optifine allows. It allows essentially what is all of these mods that have been installed, all 128 or whatever, in one package. So having to go through all of this, is it worth the massive performance gains as well as actually nicer mods and nicer control? I don't know. It's kind of opinionated. Here's the beauty. Now again, I'm going to boot up Rethinking Voxels, which is the big one. This one ran at about 100 FPS on Optifine, but you may notice here it's actually running worse than it was on Optifine. How is that possible? Well, that's due to what this mod pack has installed, and it's called Nvidium. Nvidium is a separate mod to Sodium, the performance mod. This specifically uses your GPU to render the game using a bunch of coding bullshit. So when you put on a shaders pack that kind of eats the shit out of your memory and stuff, Nvidium doesn't work as well because it requires your GPU to be powerful. Here I've turned off Nvidium to try to get the performance to go up, but you can see ultimately it doesn't really. So more drawbacks, personally, trying to use shaders with something that already uses your GPU. If you want really high performance with the things that are like Optifine, like zooming and the resource pack compatibility and the shaders compatibility, not to mention you can just toggle shaders on and off willy-nilly like this, which I will admit is so much nicer than Optifine ever was. I have a problem with it costing more performance. All in all, we're just testing performance and how easy it is to use. Definitely not the easiest, and it uses its own instance of Minecraft and requires a whole bunch more. This is the best performance mod, but like there's a lot to it. It's a mod pack. It is no longer just a simple click and install thing, and we're way out of the proportions of what this video is supposed to be. Now, I'm going to try to install something called Iris. Now, Iris has its own website as well as a Modrinth. Modrinth, same thing as before. You can download it here, or you can go here, which has big download now, download universal jar. It makes it a lot easier than anything else, I'll be honest. Now, Iris, you double click it, boom, 1.20.6. You may notice is this little tag here that says use distant horizons. Now, you can do this if you really want, but ultimately you don't really need to. On top of that, you may notice there's Iris only and Iris plus fabric. I talked about Optifine. You cannot install more mods with Optifine by itself. You have to go through different garbage to try to get that working. Not here. If you want to use Iris with other mods, you can just click Iris plus fabric and it will install everything you need for fabric. It's really nice, but we're going to do Iris only for now because we're not installing any more mods, and it'll just say completed. You just close it. You can get rid of the installer if you really want to, and all you have to do is go to your Minecraft launcher and you'll see right away Iris plus Sodium, or Iris and Sodium, or 1.20.6. It is super legible and it has its own icon, everything. You just click play and it loads right in, just like anything else. Loading time was about usual. It's a little bit slower, definitely, but it's about usual. We'll go into our world and we'll see what the performance is like. Now, as said before, Iris just adds shader support to Sodium. That's all it does. Because that's all it does, you may notice the performance isn't going to be that different from Sodium itself. So, you know, it doesn't come with any of the extra modded stuff. So there's no dynamic lighting, there's no nothing. All this does is allow you to go to your options and find shader packs. And you'll notice this tab, which allows you to do what Optifine does and just use shaders. Now, the cool thing with this is that, one, they look better, which does mean there's a little bit more performance hit, especially because Sodium's OpenGL and uses more of your GPU to begin with. But ultimately, they do look a little better than they would in Optifine, albeit at a minimal performance hit. Kind of actually a little bit higher of a performance hit. That being said, you also have keybinds. So you can immediately open this tab and immediately select something else. And that was it. That was how quick it was. It was pretty much instantaneous. As well as a keybind to just immediately turn on and off shaders. Something that I never thought I needed, but oh man, that's kind of cool, kind of nice. It's a quick button you can just spam if you really wanted to, and it just works. I don't know. That's something that is definitely a little nicer. Not to mention that when you have shaders loaded, you can also press another keybind that will refresh them. I just don't have that bound at the current moment, but it's nice. It definitely helps a little bit. Minimal performance hit, but you know, in reality, it's a shader. So, what are you expecting? It doesn't come with anything else that Optifine might. But hey, if you're just looking for performance plus shaders, which is kind of what a lot of people did for Optifine, Iris is your best bet. On top of the fact that you can immediately have it compatible with Fabric, which Fabric allows you to install other mods which allow you to mimic Optifine. It's great. And if you want to use a mod pack to mimic Optifine, well, I'll show you how that works, but you're also going to see the negatives to that. All in all, is Optifine still worth it? I noticed there's a lot of hate going on with Optifine. I'm going to be honest here. Yes, Optifine is still plenty worth it and plenty easy to use. As far as going to a website, dodging the annoying ads, and then installing it, it's the easiest one outside of Iris. Iris is actually my current thing because it's the easiest to use, and I can immediately put it with Fabric, which allows me to use my mods with it. But truthfully, Optifine is right next to it in terms of easy to utilize, and it comes with way more. You don't have to do any extra bogus. If you just want sodium, you have to go through all this modding garbage. Iris is just easier. It truly is a wonder. Yeah, I don't know. I still think Optifine is plenty worth it. In terms of performance and the things that it comes with, it's great. But the biggest drawback to Optifine is just how long it takes to get onto your computer. Truth be told, it just takes too long. The fact that 1.20.5, let alone 1.20.6, is not out yet is disappointing. And I think that's what's holding Optifine back. So, bye-bye. Now, whereas that video was kind of all over the place and I kind of regret some of the things I said, I do stand by the statement that Optifine is still usable. It definitely doesn't give nearly as much performance as Sodium, and definitely not as much as Nvidium, which is what the Modpack Additive did. Additive is great, except the hassle of installing it and having to go through all the third-party services and everything like that. It's a pain. Whereas I think Iris is probably your best bet if you just want to very quickly get a performance mod and get everything installed in quite literally one download file. Optifine, you had to dodge the stupid ads and shit, but at least Iris, you didn't have to do that. You just went to its website, click download, open the jar, and it did everything for you, including getting Fabric Loader in. So it kind of works as both. If you want to, so if you want to do mods in the future, Iris is great because it already installs Fabric for you. Whereas Sodium, you have to install Fabric and then do Sodium. So Iris is honestly the best overall if you just want performance and shaders. But if you want dynamic lighting and other things like that, I recommend Optifine. But if you want to get into modding, Additive is the best mod pack.